Okay guys, so I'm expecting the Dow Jones to start crashing about around September 11th, 2020. So on 9/11 of all days, right? But let me show you why I think this is the case. Some of you might not be aware, I actually predicted the Dow Jones crash about a month in advance. Let me show you this video I put out. And this is the same video. I'm going to show 3 different clips of this same video. This was published on January 21st, 2020. So let me just play a little clip of this real quick. You can see we found support and resistance on this ring. We found more support, we found more support, we pushed up, we got topped out right at this ring, rode down it, came back up, more resistance, and we found support, and then we pushed up. So, you know, we could go sideways and down, but the reason I'm pointing this out is this is the next ring out right here. And, you know, if we continue sideways, we would hit this ring on the 13th of February. I think this ring is what's going to cause us to put in our bottom. Again, so this was the Bitcoin chart, and we'll reference this chart in just a bit. This is a little further along. This is 19 minutes 35 seconds in. This is 21 minutes 11 seconds in. This is where I'm talking about the Dow Jones. Let me play a little clip of this. The white ring, as soon as we crossed this white ring, had a drop. This white ring pushed us down. So we're coming up on this white ring and this blue ring. I believe that that's going to push us down. So I think we're going to be topped out between now. Today's the 21st, so between now and, let me go to the actual chart. So between now and the 31st of January, I think we're going to be topped out, and I think this ring is going to push us down. So, and this is just moving forward just a little bit on this video. This is 22 minutes 40 seconds in. Let's play a little clip of this, and I'll reference all of these charts. You know, I think that we'll probably come down to around 27,000. This, like I said, support levels here. Your first target is 27,500. Your next target is around 26,200. I do believe that this ring is going to push us down. So again, this video I put out, it was January 21st. I was saying that it was likely that Bitcoin was going to crash and the stock market was going to crash, specifically the Dow Jones. This is the actual chart. Now, I never expected it to crash as far as it did, but what I want to point out with this chart is, while yes, it did come down as expected, we did hit my target. You see, we found resistance here, we found resistance here, it came back up, found support, and we came way down here. But what I'd like to point out, take note, this is actually a ring right here, but notice we bottomed right on this ring. So I want to show you this actual chart. But first, let me show you also, because I was predicting that Bitcoin was going to crash too. Both of the charts showing that Bitcoin was going to come down and the Dow was going to come down gave me, it was more confluence to make me think that something was going to happen. So if you look, if you want to follow me on Twitter, my Twitter is Optical Art Chart. I made this tweet on February 15th. This was a chart I created. Every time we crossed from these yellow rings, we had a drop. This was when we dropped from 6K to 3K. You can see we crossed this yellow ring, we dropped. We crossed this yellow ring, had another drop. We rode right up this yellow ring, also finding resistance at this white ring. We hit it, resistance, this resistance, we squeezed between them. So it made sense when we crossed this yellow ring, you know, on top of the Dow about to come down and, you know, Bitcoin about to come down, it seemed likely that both were about to crash. This is that chart. I had this on line drawing, that's why the candles are blue. But let me show you how this played out. Let me zoom in just a bit. You can see when I hit play, you know, as soon as this is the same chart. This is back here, we dropped from 6K to 3K, we crossed the yellow ring. You can see we cross here, we drop, we cross here, we drop. So again, that's why I was saying when we crossed this yellow ring, it seemed likely we would drop. This here, this is, now the great thing about some of these charts is I was actually able not only to call when the drop was going to happen, but also call the bottom. I made this post on March 12th. I said, Bitcoin bottom, nothing is ever certain, but I think I may have found our potential bottom. And I was pointing to this ring, and it's the peak of the bull run chart. All of these videos that I'm referencing, I will put a link in the description if you want to check them out. But I was pointing to this ring as a potential point to catch a bottom, to you know, first start pushing back up. And this is the next tweet after this actually was the bottom. I think I was off by $50. I think the actual bottom was like $3,980 some dollars, maybe $3,860. We'll have to go back and look. But we did bottom on this ring. We immediately had a bounce straight up. You see this trend line, guys. I do have tutorials teaching you how to create all of these charts. The reason I came up with this method of charting in the first place was to find these potential points where stock market, altcoins, Bitcoin, to find out when these points are that it potentially could get a pump, when you could get a crash, and not only that, but to find the bottom. So again, using trend lines, it helps you. Like if you draw a trend line here, you can see, well, we came up, we topped out right at this point. But we came up ever since we bottomed at this point. This is the chart that I use to find the bottom. I do have a video I made. I'll have that in the description. It's called Peak of the Bull Run. But when I created this chart, I was able to create this red fib circle that you can see prices respecting very well. At the time I published this was November 23rd, 2019. If you'll notice, this is where price is right now. Notice we're finding support on this line of this fib channel. We're finding resistance on the line of this fib channel. If I hit play, look where we bottomed, right on this ring. So the thing about it is using this chart, I think it's very likely if we crash, our first target for support will be this same ring. So potentially, if we had a crash straight down, 6,556, out here would be 7,815. If we drop below this, I think our bottom potentially will be around, depends on when you hit it, it's at an angle, but 22,700 up to potentially, right here is around 3,500. So this was able to nail the bottom. This is the actual Dow Jones chart. So if you'll notice this published version here, I was telling you pay attention to this ring right here. On the actual charts, I have the rings a little brighter and thicker so you can see them. But as you can see, if I zoom out, this is all the same fib circle here. If I move this, it's all the same fib circle. So not only did this chart help me actually predict, when we would possibly have a drop, it also nailed the bottom, which further shows how well price is respecting this fib circle. And you'll see when price pushed up, we found resistance at this ring, came back down, respecting all of these lines in these fib circles on this chart. But specifically this white fib circle, you can see we came up as resistance, and we came up as resistance. We found support on it twice, and it just so happens. So this is the first ring that we had the drop at. This ring here. This is the next ring out. This is the third ring out. We are going to make contact with this ring on September 11th. So on 9/11, we will be crossing this ring. Now, yes, these are pivot rings. Again, this is why I came up with this method of charting in the first place, is to find these pivots. Yes, it's possible. We could cross this and shoot straight up. I think it's more likely with what's going on in the world economy, especially, or the global economy, especially here in the US. I think it's more likely that this would come down, but this is a point to pay attention to. Because we're respecting this fib circle so well, I think when we cross this, I think this will be the point we'll come down. If we do push up, notice this yellow, this is actually a fib circle as well. But notice that, we didn't quite make it up to this yellow fib circle, and we're pushing up. If we do push up, I think the highest point we would go is potentially 28,633. I think when we do cross this ring, I think this is when we're going to come down. Of course, this is the Dow. If you're looking at bottom, so if we do drop, your first likely bottom will be this next ring down. So if we cross this, and we start coming down kind of sideways, your first bottom will be this ring, and this is potentially 24,000. Out here is 25,000. If this does not hold, the ring we bottomed on will be your next line of support, or ring of support. So right here is potentially 19,523. Out here is 20,800. And if it gets really bad, guys, if this goes into a depression, if it gets really bad, your next ring down, this is all the same fib circle. If we bottomed here and we have a major crash, your next ring below is down here around 14,000. This is around 15,000 here. This is around 15,700. And you've got rings in the same fib circle down here. The next ring down would be 11,254. So what I'm saying is, if we do have a major crash, this chart will actually show you where that bottom will be, just like it did right here. If we go to this Bitcoin chart, now this is the one I referenced in that video also. Let me go and play this out. So take note, this white fib circle here. Price found support and resistance. Let me zoom in a bit here. Notice we found resistance underneath this white ring. When we crossed this blue ring, it was pivot to go up. You see we found a little bit of resistance on this white ring. This is the one I was referencing in that video, that when we crossed it, I think it was likely that we could, it would cause a dump in the price of Bitcoin going along with the Dow Jones. What just so happens, this is the next fib circle right here we're coming up on. So let me show you this chart. And this ring right here, I'll show you this yellow fib circle. I've had this. This is my original capitulation ring. I'll show you this in the next chart, but just I'm going to get this out of the way so it doesn't get too confusing. There's a lot on this chart, but this is the ring I'm talking about. So according to the Dow Jones chart, we're going to cross that ring on 9/11, September 11th. So again, this is the same fib circle here. See, this is when we crossed. We had a crash. Notice we're finding resistance right underneath this this yellow ring right here. When we make contact with this ring, if we continue sideways, we're going to make contact with this ring on potentially September 8th. Down here this will be September 11th. Let me go ahead and just put a vertical line here. So this is September 11th. So just looking at how price reacted with this previous one, when we crossed this ring, we dumped. It's possible, we could push up, we could cross the ring and then ride down the outside of it. This ring we could just ride down the inside of the ring, just kind of like we did back here. These rings play out different ways. The point is they're pivot points. It's a time to pay attention to, because if price is respecting a fib circle, when you get to the next ring, typically it's going to respect it again, or it's going to respect the next ring. So that's why I'm saying, just like last time, I had a chart that showed it looked like Bitcoin was going to drop and the Dow was going to drop. Same thing. The same chart I used to predict the last Dow crash is showing that it looks like we're coming up on a ring that could cause a potential drop. And I have a ring on one of the same charts that show that it looks like it's going to push Bitcoin down. So I do think there's a lot of downside to come. So this here is the, I published this chart on June 24th. This is my ring of capitulation. And in this previous chart, this is the ring I turned off. Let me turn this back on here. So this is my original capitulation chart, or rings that I was using. If you'll notice on this chart, again, this was June 24, 2019. I wanted to find a point where possibly Bitcoin would start coming down. Take note, these two yellow rings part of the same fib circle. If I hit play, you can see as soon as we crossed that ring, as soon as we crossed this ring, we started coming down. And take note that when we got to the next ring, we started pushing up it. We came down a bit, pushed up some more. When we dropped, notice we bottomed right where this ring was, and then started pushing up this ring. So these gave you potential points to sell and buy. And again, this is back in June 24th of last year. This is my Coinbase weekly chart. Again, guys, all these charts available on the website. They play out live on mobile phones, tablets, desktops. You just click the link, they load up. If you do have a free TradingView account, though, you can save my charts as your own. They're shareable. Just click the copy icon, and you can edit these charts, add your own indicators, change the time frame. Just wanted to point that out. But this chart right here, this has been very good for macro targets. But I've been telling people that the reason I believe that Bitcoin is still in a bear market is because we cannot get above this yellow line right here. Every time we hit this yellow line, we get rejected. And the reason for this, and I could zoom out, this has a lot on this chart. Let me just show you another an actual chart here. So this is the actual this is why I was saying we're still in a bear market. This line right here, this has been support and resistance going back since 2011. This was resistance here, support, resistance, support. Right here was 2014. This is 2017. Back here it was support and resistance on 2018. Right here it was support and resistance 2019 in December. You can see we held a support. As soon as we broke it, we dropped. And every time we hit this line, we got rejected. We got rejected here, got rejected here. We pushed back up, got rejected again. So this is what I'm saying. Because we broke this support that goes back since 2011, and we came up and tested its resistance, it could not break above it. To me, that is very bearish. That's why I expect this to start coming back down. And that is what this chart shows. This line right here, And that's why I've been telling people in my previous videos that this is the line where I become bullish or bearish. If we can make it above this yellow line, you know, right now our target would be around 12,300. If we make it above this point, I would get bullish. But since we keep getting rejected, that's why I'm still bearish. But take note how accurate this chart is. This was a post I made on Twitter. This was I was telling people that we were coming up on support, 11,369. So this would be the point to long from. I said getting close to support would be a good support level to chance a long, and I was telling people if you might want to long alts as well if they're also at support, and you can see how this played out. As soon as we hit this support level, we started pushing up. So the charts are accurate, but the main takeaway is as long as we're below this, I think it's bearish. And again, this chart back here, guys, I have a lot of charts up here. This chart right here, I think the same thing's going to play out. It's either going to play out where we cross this ring and then come down, or to play out like this ring right here where we hit this ring and it starts pushing price down. The other scenario is we cross it and then start riding down the ring. So something like this, or potentially we cross it and then come down the outside of it. And I think this will play along with the Dow Jones chart as well. We'd like to cover also, so when I published, I created the dollar index chart, the DXY. When I published this chart, you can see I have this green ring here and this yellow ring here. And I was making, if you read the tweet here, US index charts are now up on website under stocks page. I created two versions. If you look at version A, it looks like we might hold support on the green and yellow ring for possible bounce. So the time I created this chart, you can see we were finding support on this green ring. This is a yellow ring below. If we go to the actual chart, you can see we found support right on this green ring, found support again, we fell through. Perfect support on this this yellow ring, and now we're pushing up. If I zoom out and you look at the bigger picture, this is our resistance right here. So this kind of plays along with the Dow and Bitcoin. Obviously, if the dollar index is pushing up, that means people are jumping out of the stock market, jumping out of gold, out of silver, out of Bitcoin. So if we look at this, let me go to the smaller time frames so you can get a little more detail here. But notice that we're coming back down. We found support here, found support, we found support on this yellow ring. So we'll probably come down, we'll find support right here on this green ring. So I'm expecting this to kind of move sideways. But once we break this this white trend line, this currently our resistance, once we break this point, since we already found support on this ring, I think it's likely this is going to go sideways. Once we break this point, I think the dollar is going to move sideways, and then once we cross, I think the dollar is just going to start shooting right up, and that is going to play along with the Dow coming down, Bitcoin coming down. And take note right here, the MACD is starting to move up. The dollar is starting to look very bullish. You can see gold back here. This is when this is around 24th of February. You can see this when the stock market crashed. You know, gold took a dive. Same with silver. This was back here on the 24th of February. Gold started, silver started coming down as well. Again, guys, all these charts are accessible on the website. I'll show you these in just a bit. Let me go to smaller time frames so you can kind of get an idea how accurate these are. You can see we've just been basically just respecting all of these fib channels, but at the same time, we're respecting these fib circles as well. Notice we topped out right at this last ring in this fib circle. Resistance, resistance, so it just seems likely if we did push up, the highest you would go would be around $27.85. Your support is this ring below. So the rings give you macro targets. So you know, if we drop down below this point here, you can see we found resistance at this ring, we found support at this ring. So if you drop below this ring, your next target would be this ring here, around $22.25. So I just want to cover that, guys. If the dollar pushes up, the Dow crashes, I mean, everything's going to crash with it. That's what happened last time. That's what I'm trying to point out. But when I was saying that when we cross that ring, yes, it's possible. You know, we could shoot straight up. I find it less likely. You know, some countries are experiencing a second wave. You can see here, it says the coronavirus pandemic isn't even close to being over. More than 20.2 million people worldwide have been known to be infected. It goes through, but they're talking about the second wave. So you have a possible second wave of COVID coming up. This is the GDP for the US. You can see how bad this got. I mean, this is just insane. This hasn't been this bad. I think it's worse than the Great Depression. You can see this is the job unemployment. I mean, it just April 2020, it just skyrocketed. It's a little lower now, but it's still, the numbers are astronomical. People are out of work. Businesses are going belly up every single day. Currently, Biden is up. He's up in the polls against Trump, and it's very possible Biden's going to be a little more. I think he's going to do what he's going to do what it takes to keep this coronavirus under control. At least do more than I think Trump is. He's a little lax on it right now, and that means, you know, if Biden's up in the polls, I think this is bearish for the stock market, because if they start having lockdowns and shut down businesses, that's going to be bad for the economy, bad for the Dow, bad for, like I said, the New York Stock Exchange in general. So it could bring everything down. But I'm just pointing out these things that are happening, and it could just play along with that date right here. I mean, it just seems very likely, you know, maybe this is a second wave of COVID, the start of it. It's possible that, you know, the polls are really high for Biden versus Trump. So people start panicking and start jumping out of the stock market, and this is a cascading effect. We'll have to see what happens, but all I can say is pay attention to this date. When we cross this ring, I expect something major to happen. Let me see here. So let me, if I covered everything. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through at the end of this. I'm just going to show you how some of these charts played out. I would like to show you how Link played out and Tezos, but for some reason I'm not. TradingView doesn't let me do rewind for these or replay, but I will show you how some of these charts played out. This is the Bitstamp BTC USD chart. You can see this is on the 5 minute, but you can see how accurate this chart has been just for catching you know, smaller targets to the upside and the downside. And you go back, you look left, you can see this was very strong support and resistance. So this would tell you that this would be a strong support level. This here is the ADA chart. I'll do a time lapse and show you some of these charts played out. But before I do that, let me show you some of the charts on my website. So if you do access my charts, these are exchanges. These are charted on different exchanges, so you can, you know, if you're on Bitstamp, you can load them up. You're on Coinbase, so you get a more accurate price. All these are charted a little differently, so some have pivot rings in different places, so it's a good thing to pay attention to all the different charts. These are more macro charts. My peak of the bull run chart that nailed the bottom. Bitcoin dominance, there's a few charts in here. If you go to precious metals, I have gold, palladium, silver. I need to update copper. I'll be adding platinum soon. These are the altcoin charts I have available currently. Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, Ripple, XLM, Neo, Cardano, Chainlink, Tezos, BSV. I think I'm going to be getting rid of these. I have EOS as well. I'm not going to be adding Theta or Digibyte or Redcoin. Also, under stocks, I will be updating these stocks charts. A lot of these are still in play. Some of them need to be updated. But I have Dow Jones, Apple, Google, Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, Cleveland-Cliffs, Maxwell Technologies, the US dollar index, Boeing, JP Morgan, Lockheed Martin, S&P, and oil. And also, if you're interested in learning how I chart, guys, I do have tutorials. This first one is creating trend lines. This is the very first tool you should use when you're creating charts. Then I teach you how to actually, each one of these are about an hour long, and then I teach you how to create fib circles using trend lines, which is a great method for finding these potential points, these pivot points. And then I teach you my method of charting that I created using fib channels, and then creating fib circles from these fib channels. So if you're interested in that, guys, check it out. If you would like to subscribe, I have different options. If you want to pay 19 bucks a month, that gives you access to the Bitcoin charts, altcoin charts, precious metals, and Discord. If you would like to access stocks, that is separate. Tutorials are separate as well, but I do have a lifetime option. So if you pay $2.99, you get access to everything. You never have to pay again. It's just a one-time payment, and you're in for life. So I wanted to point that out, guys. If you do want to access these charts, the link for the description. The link for the website is in the description. It's opticalartcrypto.com. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at opticalartchart. So the rest of this video, I'm just going to show you how some of these charts played out. Until the next one.